Hello and welcome to the Dinosaw for week 25, another 7 curious, interesting things I saw last week. So let's crack on. First one, this is Dan Harmon, who, if you didn't know, is the one of the creators of Rick and Morty. And he has announced with Fox a new series which is called the Crapopolis, which is basically about some flawed humans and gods and monsters who try and run a city without killing each other, apparently. So that sounds interesting. Interesting point about this one is actually this is going to be integrated with a marketplace for NFTs. So this will allow fans to purchase anything from GIFs or background images, or have exclusive, should we say. So it might give them access to things that nobody else is seeing until it goes public, or so essentially behind the scenes stuff. We don't really know yet, but watch this space really for more of these sorts of announcements, where you'll find that a new show coming along will probably have some sort of ownership of digital assets along with it. So sounds like they're actually creating their own marketplace for this as well. So that will be interesting. So if you're a big fan of Rick and Morty, more of the same but different. This is Wiggle, which is basically Wi-Fi, but with power in it. So this isn't new. This is, I think, it was one of the kind of the new thing on the block 2015 award. So it's been out for a while, but that was basically power over Wi-Fi. Now there's been a milestone achieved from the guys at Wiggle, which is how you pronounce it apparently. Now they have achieved 1 watt of power transfer between their mesh devices. So there's lots of words there. I'll try and explain what that really means. So if you have a device, you can obviously have Wi-Fi and you can connect to the internet and stuff, but your device probably needs power. Now if you have a wireless charging device, then you can obviously put that on a wireless charging pad and you can charge it. Now wouldn't it be awesome if you could contain both the power and the Wi-Fi in the same router? So you do not really need to charge your devices anymore, because it will receive its power through the air just like it does its Wi-Fi. So that's basically what Wiggle does. One of many companies that are going after this at the moment, but this 1 watt transferred through the air basically will allow you to run devices and charge them up over time. They can even run small LED lights and that sort of thing. So with their mesh system, which is a relay system of sort of local routers really, it means that you can kind of bounce the electricity around different lengths of devices or different areas that you've got in your house, and therefore you can couple them together. So it's really, the way they're sort of calling it is it's sort of a power over infinite distance, because you can just keep daisy chaining them together. So Wiggle, and is this the future? And what does this really also mean for urban architecture and town planning, where potentially things like pavements, billboards, shops, lamp posts, whatever, can be a source of charging wirelessly? And is that something for the likes of Sky or broadcasters or Amazon or whoever to start providing this service as well? So there you go. This is brilliant. So last Friday was basically Cystic Fibrosis Day, and if you wore a yellow t-shirt for that, well done, as did I. So Sick Beats is actually an adaptation of, I hope I'm saying this right, Wooja. Now Wooja is a device, seen this a year or 2 ago actually, which is a haptic device. It's basically a waistcoat with kind of a magnetic sort of vibration device in it, which powers a weight that moves backwards and forwards, as you can see it there. And what it allows you to do is, as you're playing a game, for instance, it will allows you to feel impacts or whatever. And there are lots of these speakers and lots of these devices all the way around that give you this kind of vibration. Now if you were playing a game, that's awesome, but if you then tune it very specifically with certain playlists from Spotify, for instance, then you can get very sort of different bass notes out of this thing. Now if you have cystic fibrosis and you have a buildup of fluid on your lungs or mucus on your lungs, then you would normally, there are devices that you can actually wear that would vibrate you, and they're a little bit let's just say they're sort of incapacitating. You can't really speak when they're on, because they're literally whacking backwards and forwards. Lots and lots of things that people have to endure each day really if you have cystic fibrosis. So this is really interesting. A, it's cool, and B, it allows you to listen to music using a sort of a special playlist on Spotify with very sort of certain types of music on there. But what it'll allow you to do is vibrate the mucus from your lungs, which is kind of cool as well. So there you go. A pretty cool invention. It's not FDA approved or anything at the moment, very much a demo. But it's getting really, really good reviews from basically industry and people who are basically dealing with cystic fibrosis. So I thought that was a great update. Twitter have a new potential feature. So this was actually revealed by one of their designers, Dominic Camozzi, who put this on Twitter. Now, what this initially it sounds really weird, but what this allows you to do is edit somebody else's posts. So I'll explain that because that does sound a little strange. And why would you want to do that? Well, if somebody's mentioned you in one of their posts and you don't want to be mentioned or tagged in one of their posts, you can be removed from their post. So there are various reasons why this might happen, but it might also be targeted abuse or bullying, for instance, and it might just be a subject that somebody else has tagged you in that you have no reason to be tagged in, you don't want to be. So you can now essentially remove yourself from that string of tweets. There is a second feature they put in there as well, which is worth noting as well, which is that you can also stop somebody from mentioning you anyway. So quite what we'll do with that, I'm not really sure, but what that can allow you to do is basically be anonymous in terms of being mentioned. So you can hide from being mentioned in anything. So I'm not quite sure how that will play out just yet, but there's some screenshots as you can see in front of you. Not an official feature, but really interesting. I quite like where that's going. Haven't really thought through it fully, but if there is any sort of bullying or targeted abuse, this might be a way around that I wasn't really expecting. In other NFT news, there's always something a little bit interesting each week. So Tim Berners-Lee, who for various parts he's done, he's also a great sort of open internet campaigner, but also is more famous for pretty much coming up with the hypertext protocol that we all use, the HTTP and HTML, all that sort of stuff is pretty much ... line back to Tim Berners-Lee. So back in 1990, 1991, this was the source code for the internet. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but pretty much that's it. 9,555 lines of code, and he's basically auctioning it through Sotheby's. So it's not actually open yet as of this day that I'm recording this, but it will be, I think, the end of the auction is the end of June, so June the 30th, I think it is. So if you'd like to do that, I think you need at least $1,000, I think it is, for your first bid. But you not only get the source code, you get the animation as you see in front of you here. I think you also get a poster, but you get the certificate as an NFT on the blockchain to say that you actually own it. You also get a little note from Tim Berners-Lee as well, and you get the bunch of notes that came with it originally when the documentation essentially for HTML. So if that's your thing, then that's a great thing. It's the first NFT really that I've been excited by. Will I bid for it? Probably not. It's £1,000, $1,000. So, but if that's something you're looking for, then you can own the internet. This is Amazon's Halo body scanner. Now, this isn't new. This was launched last year with the Halo Band, which is a sort of screenless health tracking band. Now, what the body feature did is it allowed you to take 4 photographs of your body, and then what it would do is all private, kept on the phone. What it would then do is it would use its sort of machine learning and all the data it's currently got at its disposal to then figure out, based on your skeletal analysis and also all the other data it's currently got, what your body fat composition is and density and all those sorts of things. So they've just released a report. The reason this has come up, and this has been out for about a year or just less than a year anyway, but the report has given some details about how accurate it is, and it's actually pretty accurate. So the normal way of doing this, which is the gold standard as they call it, is to go and get an X-ray, and it will look at the body composition and they work it all out from that. They can actually sort of detect the fat, for instance, and the bones and the flesh. So it's actually not that far away from that. So it turns out it's really, really accurate. So that's very interesting. So I think there's a huge amount of work to be done on this. For instance, the way I've always thought this should go is, for instance, if you return clothes, there's a huge amount of clothes that just didn't fit, the arms weren't quite right. Well, if you're body scanning, then clearly that's going to return a huge amount of, or going to cancel a huge amount of returns if you can find out whether it actually would have fitted your body or not. So who knows where they're going with this, but I thought that was quite an interesting update. And finally, will it run Doom? So occasionally I feature one of these with, if you're a hacker, then, or if you're just a bit mischievous and you know how to code, then if there's a device, you try to make Doom, which is a 1990s game, early 90s I think. Basically, will it run Doom? So the two victims this time, which are quite interesting for different reasons. The first one, will it run Doom? Windows 11, and as you can see in the animation or the video, yes, it will run Doom. And why is that interesting? Well, Windows 11 hasn't actually been released yet, so this was a dodgy code that got somehow released on Baidu, which is Chinese social media network, I guess. So that's revealed all of the basically the hidden secrets that I guess Microsoft were really wanting to keep secret. So people have now installed it, checked it out, found all the features, etc., etc. So that's a bit embarrassing, but yes, Doom does actually work on it. And finally, IKEA's LED, it's like a smart light bulb, so you can connect it to your phone and whatnot, and it can change colour. We've probably all seen these light bulbs. That little circuit board you can see probably in the bottom, in the middle of that light bulb. Could you run a computer game on that? Well, it turns out you can. Of course, you have to put a screen on it, and there's some sort of input device, so it had some buttons attached to it. So, but yes, it can actually use its 128K, I think it's got in it, something like that, to run Doom. Now, this was on Reddit, and it wasn't particularly, it didn't go down well with IKEA, shall we say. So they have, not quite sure, because there's no reports of actually what they said, but it sounds like there was a cease and desist issued, so everything's been taken down. But there's plenty of pictures of it. I think it was just the video that they didn't like to see. It probably also flags that there's some open loophole in some of their hardware. I don't know. However, I thought that was really, really interesting. So there's always a fun thing to find, will it run Doom on? And IKEA light bulbs is probably the coolest one this week. There you go. So hopefully that was useful. Hopefully it was interesting, and I will see you next week.